Hey, this is Roll for Crit here at Gen Con 2019. I am standing here right now with Matt from Direwolf Digital in your booth. You guys have many exciting releases this year. I think probably one of the biggest ones is Eternal Chronicles of the Throne, which is a big physical release for you guys. Now, Eternal began as a digital game, but this is, I believe, more of a spin-off than an adaptation, right? So could you talk to me a little bit about what that is exactly?
Yeah, absolutely. So Eternal Chronicles is a standalone game. It is set in the world of Myria, so in the same IP. But Eternal Chronicles is a deck building game that tries to marry the sort of engine of a deck builder where you start with a basic deck that you improve by drafting cards with more sort of CCG style combat. So there's attacking and blocking and strategic decision making and combat that unfolds with choices that you make on your turn and on your opponent's turn. So really what we're looking to do is take some of the long-term strategic growth of building your deck on the fly that you get from a traditional deck builder, but inject the strategic combat of a tabletop CCG into it that provides a little bit more decision-making and depth in the combat phase. The result, we think, is a really exciting sort of blend of the two genres.
So it's kind of like if you were playing a game like Magic, but without all the preamble, it's kind of built in to the game itself.
I mean, another way to think about it is we took some of the, sometimes less fun elements of both genres and left them out. So you can play a sort of CCG-style combat game without the fiddliness of resource management that sometimes goes into that. And similarly, you can play a deck builder without the occasionally slow combat or the lack of interactivity that you get in some deck builders, where sometimes it feels like you're doing your thing and I'm doing my thing, and it's just a race to go off first. In this, it's much more about the back and forth of combat and the ongoing choices you make from turn to turn and across turns that really decide the outcome of the game.
Got it. Yeah, that's good for me because those things sometimes bog me down in those CCGs as well.
It can happen. It can definitely happen.
And it's for 2 to 4 players, is that right?
Yes.
And so how does it work between the head-to-head mode versus having more than 2 players?
Sure. A 2-player game is pretty straightforward. You have your resources, your opponent has theirs. Start 25 life, and it's a race to see who can reduce your opponent to 0 first. In a multiplayer game, it gets a little bit more interesting. One of the problems that some deck builders have when they go into multiplayer play is that it turns into let's just figure out who the leader is and everybody dogpile on that person, and it's sort of like crabs pulling each other down into the bucket. We wanted to avoid some of that and find some new ways to introduce that kind of gameplay. So in Eternal Chronicles, at any given time, you're only attacking one player, and you're only being attacked by one player. But when you eliminate a player, you get a bounty reward, which gives you this big injection of power. And what that means is 2 things. One, it helps speed up the end of the game when players are eliminated. You don't end up sitting around for a long time waiting for the game to finish.
Always good.
And 2, it can even act as a comeback mechanic, where if you fall sort of far behind, but manage to eliminate one player, the boost you get in power can put you right back into the thick of things as the game sort of comes to a conclusion. Okay. So it's a pretty exciting blend that we hope avoids some of the problems that multiplayer deck builders sometimes have, while offering some fun and exciting twists.
Yeah, I like that. I know sometimes I get frustrated with, well, that person is kind of winning, so I guess I'll attack them, but I don't really have a strong sense of who or why I'm exactly doing it. I think that's smart. You guys are no stranger to deck building games, of course, with Clank.
Sure.
And Clank Legacy now as well. What do you think it is about the deck building genre that attracts people and that lends itself to kind of fit into all these different styles and different genres of play? I
mean, deck builders are, inherently, I think, super replayable, right? Like, one of the things that for me is always heartbreaking. I love deck building games. Always a little bit of heartbreak when you're doing the thing and you built an amazing deck and everything's coming together, and then the game ends. And you're like, oh man, I didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep doing the thing and just getting, some of that experience with the opportunity to jump right back in and do it again and try to build a new engine and try to find a new strategy on the fly. There's a lot of flexibility in the genre. There's a lot of replayability and a lot of depth. And those things give you, tremendous flexibility in how you what directions you take and how you choose to explore it.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to see how different publishers and designers take that and mess with it in different ways.
Sure.
So let's talk about digital stuff too,
Sure.
because that's a third of your company name.
It's one of the words. It's right in the name.
Right. We'll get to wolves next time. We don't have time for that right now.
Don't talk about the wolves.
I know Raiders of the North Sea just got released, and you want to talk about that and any other cool digital stuff that you got coming out?
So we released Raiders of the North Sea just this week on Tuesday for iOS and Android phones and tablets, PC and Mac on Steam, and Nintendo Switch.
That's cool.
Got a tremendous reception right out of the gate, which is really exciting for us to see. The overall reaction has been incredibly positive. Players are picking it up and loving it. And it's a wonderful underlying board game. And whenever we start the process of adapting a physical board game to a digital medium, we're not just looking to translate the gameplay mechanics into a digital device. We really want to bring the world to life. Raiders offers some tremendous opportunities there with how uniquely stylized the illustrations are, how sort of rich and vibrant the board itself is, and it really lends itself to a world you want to explore and kind of immerse yourself in as you are destroying it as a Viking Raider and burning it all to the ground. But, that's sort of a to each their own kind of situation. So Raiders came out on Tuesday. We're also at Gen Con offering a first gameplay look at Yellow and Yangtze, which is set in Imperial China. That will be out towards the end of next month in September. And finally, we here at Gen Con released for the first time gameplay trailers for both Root and Sagrada, both of which will be getting upcoming digital adaptations that are so far looking really great because, sort of similar to Raiders, they've got some amazing visuals in the underlying games that we've been really excited to bring to life.
Yeah, I mean, those are some great games, and they have built in such great artwork and visuals.
Sure.
I mean, I'm curious about Root because that's for a digital game with all the asymmetrical stuff going on, that must be interesting to how it handles that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one of the bigger challenges with Root is actually how we develop the AI, because normally when you're building a game, you have to build an AI logic that knows how to play the game.
Right.
And you build it once, and then it knows how to play the game. Root has the additional challenge of being multiple games sort of wrapped up into one, where different factions are doing different things, which creates some unique challenges in knowing how to teach the computer how to play the game, especially with adjustable difficulty relative to itself when it's achieving different objectives. There's some really fun depth and complexity there on the development side that, it's a great game that we love, and it looks gorgeous, and sort of pulling all this together has provided some new challenges for us that we've been really excited to rise to meet.
Yeah, it's a really cool title. You guys have always some of the coolest digital game adaptations coming out. So Raiders of the North Sea out there right now, whatever devices people have. Eternal is here for sale, I believe. Is it?
So Eternal Chronicles of the Throne is going to be in game stores in September. We have a limited release going on here at Gen Con where some are available. And anybody who pre-ordered on our website, direwolfdigital.com, will be getting their game in a couple of weeks before it's in stores.
All right, so look forward to those things, and thank you so much for talking to us. Hope you're having a good Gen Con so far.
It's good. It's always it's both a marathon and a sprint. So we're towards the end of day 2, and we're going strong and optimistic for the finish.
I can see both of our voices are starting to go, so people know how it is.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. For more Gen Con content, like this video, subscribe to Roll for Crit, and follow us on all our social media platforms.
But if you really need more, you can visit our Patreon, where we'll be having a exclusive little Gen Con mini podcast to listen to.
And there's our contest running right now for the Keyforge Age of Ascension set. You can try to win. Find the link in the description down below.